It is mock draft season, and it's also charity fantasy football contest season. We've got a packed show for you tonight. We're going to go over all the best charity contests out there, give away a place in the prestigious Scott Fish Bowl. Then we're going to jump into a mock draft, get you set up to crush your fantasy drafts over the coming weeks. Lots to get into. Let's go. It's the Fantasy Sanctuary, and we are joined by a true legend in the charity fantasy football streets, Matt Cullen, organizer and creator of the JTT Cup and a good friend of the Fantasy Sanctuary. Matt, I call this time of year my time of year because of best ball, but truly it is charity competition season when it comes to fantasy football. How's it all going for you?
Yeah, good. I'm really pleased to be on. Two guys I've known for quite some time, and two of the JTT OGs. So really happy to be on talking about it with you today.
So, for people who aren't familiar with the JTT Cup, can you give us a quick overview on the Joshua Tarrant charity and what you've done for it over the last few years?
Yeah, so essentially the Joshua Tarrant Trust is a UK charity, and it's care for children with brain tumours, set up by two parents who son Joshua with a brain tumour in 2012, and the family and the team that work for them do incredible work caring for other children with brain tumours at Allen Brooks Hospital in Cambridge. And I decided kind of during COVID that I wanted to do something to help them raise some funds, and set on a small charity contest that started with 60 people back in 2021, and we're obviously entering our 4th year, and we've grown to hopefully people this year. And we just passed in the last couple of weeks £30,000 raised for the charity all time, which I'm obviously really pleased with.
You're on mute, Tom.
It's an incredible amount and something you should truly be proud of. For me, it's one of my favorite charity contests because it's purely best ball, no waivers, none of that kind of rubbish. In terms of the format, can you give people a little overview of what it is that you do with the JTT Cup that makes it so enjoyable?
Yeah, so I guess it's a pretty standard Superflex roster. We have a few more flex spots, than maybe some do, but it's season long, like you say. There's waivers, no trades, etc. So it makes it really easy. It's really easy for new players to fantasy football. So it's just a 10 starting roster. This year it'll be a 8-man 8-round draft, and we're kind of up as divisions in this year, and the divisions are set up into a wider conference, which is usually 4 or 5 divisions, and it's a 12 or 13 week kind of divisional round. All division winners go through to the playoffs, and then we have some wilds as well. It goes into a watch playoff bracket, which will end up with probably this year a 12-person final, week 7.
Nice. So any hints on the scoring system you want to drop tonight, or are you keeping those under wraps until everything goes live?
Well, yeah, I'm going to keep it a little bit under wraps, but there is going to be some element of return yardage this year, obviously with the new kickoff changes in the NFL. So nothing major, but spring a little bit of that to throw maybe a bit of a curveball for our players this year. Outside of that, it's half points per first down and a 1 per reception. It's fair standard outside of that, to be honest.
Nice. Well, we'll talk more JTT as we go, but there are plenty of good charity contests out there, and we want to cover a few of them. Then we're going to give away the entry to the Scott Fish Bowl, and then we're going to get into a mock draft. So lots to be on with. The second one, which we wanted to bring up, is the Warrior Bowl. And again, good friends of ours, established in 2020, raised over $63,000 for charity. This year's charity is the Bluebell Wood Children Hospice and Love Brum, I believe it is. It's a redraft tournament, 600 teams, hosted on Sleeper, and you can sign up at warriorbowl.com. Rich, you've been playing in Warrior Bowl longer than I have. Any particular takeaways about what it takes to succeed in that contest?
I think it's like all these charity tournaments. It needs an incredible amount of luck and a very good draft. But I think the thing that I really enjoy about the Warrior Bowl is because if you win your division, you get to come back to that division again the next year. There's that little bit of kind of ongoing competitiveness within Warrior Bowl year on year. It is redraft, which for those of us in a few leagues makes it slightly more challenging because it's not a kind of set and forget. But yeah, it's another one. Greg and Foley do phenomenal work, and raise an unbelievable amount of charity, and it is another great community.
Absolutely, and I do believe you can still sign up there. Plenty of spots still going for Warrior Bowl. We're going to get on some more, but first, if this is your first time finding us here at Fantasy Sanctuary, hit the subscribe button. We do Dynasty, Best Ball, Redraft, DFS. We've got you covered for everything. Constant churn of good quality content coming your way. So the next one, Rich, do you want to talk a little bit about 5-yard rush FFCC? You've been involved with it a little bit over the years.
Yeah, it's another fantastic best ball tournament. Slightly different format, maybe the most brutal week 2 in any charity tournament. So the way they do it, it's a 256 person bracket. You play matches over 2 weeks. So after week 2, half of the field has been eliminated, which is always incredibly brutal. But it's great fun. Again, raises an amazing amount of charity. You know, Murph and the guys at 5 Yards did it for MPS Society UK, which is obviously a massive charity very close to my heart, and raised over $5,000 for that last year. Because of, you know, the terrible stuff that Murph's been going through over the last couple of years, they're doing it for Crohn's and colitis so far this year. And I think they've just cleared $4,000 again this year. So Murph did suggest that they were trying to potentially go over 500 this year, maybe up to that sort of, what would it be, 562 as the kind of the next step of the bracket. I don't know if that's still happening, but yeah, if you want to get involved, go and sign up because it's another fantastic best ball charity tournament doing incredible work.
It is, and the difference that you mentioned, the fact that it is a knockout tournament, it really does make it incredibly hard to progress. But the fact that the drafts are there on Sleeper and you can see how your team would have progressed through the season, it's a lot of fun and definitely a very good, fun cause that we're raising money for. The TH Fantasy Football Best Ball Bonanza, year 3 for these guys, raising money for the Beast and Memory Cafe, which is all to do with support people with dementia. Pure Best Ball Tournament. You sign up via TH Fantasy _NFL on Twitter. Matt, you know these guys well. How did you fare in this contest last year?
I got to the playoffs, but I kind of crashed and burned after that. So, similar to the JTT, you know, again this year. Great to see. I think they're up to 200 this year, which is fantastic.
They're doing phenomenal.
Yeah.
We'll hit on one more, and then we're going to give away this place in the Scott Fish Bowl. Polly's Playoffs, year 5 for them. You can check them out on Twitter. Play either best ball or redraft, and they're raising money to help with Alzheimer's, which is something which truly needs all the money it can get to help that kind of research. And it's a really well-run tournament. It's a lot of fun, loads of good causes out there, and there's a load more good charity contests that we haven't got to tonight, but there is lots to talk about, and we are going to get to the Scott Fish Bowl giveaway. So we opened this up. All you had to do to get a place in this was hit the subscribe button on our channel, send us a picture. If you wanted a second entry, if you showed us proof that you'd signed up and donated to the JTT Cup, then you got yourself a second entry. Well over 112 names altogether. So good luck to all those entered, and let's see who's going to the Scott Fish Bowl, where you can choose what kind of draft you want to be in. I'm in a slow draft. I know you guys are drafting live.
Absolutely.
Dan Clippo 88. We will be in touch on Twitter to see if you're still looking for a place, and if not, we'll have to draw somebody else. But you guys, are you both drafting live for the Scott Fish Bowl this year?
Yeah, second year again. It was fantastic. Live in London, giving certain members of this live stream some abuse for their sticker placement on the draft board. But yeah, it was such a good fun night. I couldn't not do it again. So yeah, we're drafting live at the UKFFC. I think Matt's bottled being in a division with me again this year, though. I think I'm in Harry Potter with quite a few of our members, it seems, but everyone else swerved me and bottled it.
So, Matt, any tips for people drafting live?
Don't drink too much before the event. It was definitely noticeable last year that I think Rich and Murph did the best in our division, and they were the team of the night who were drinking in the division. No disrespect to their fantasy mind, but there's definitely a correlation between those two. And be prepared. A lot of people turn up with ranking bits of paper and spreadsheets and stuff, so and proper geek out. So if that's kind of your area of expertise, come a little bit more prepared than maybe you would to any other normal fantasy draft. Is probably my best bit of advice.
I like that. I think the best thing about live drafts, and the only one I've done over the last few years, has always been my home league, and it's really just one of those experiences to enjoy as much as possible. And particularly with Scott Fishbowl being a charity tournament, if you can't enjoy that for what it is, then what's the point? But we've got a mock draft to go. 12 people in here, including Matt at the 101, myself at the 16, and Rich at the 112. Everyone else in here is one of our YouTube members from our Discord. If you want to join, hit the join button down below. You get access to all my best ball rankings, all Rich's dynasty rankings, his survival kit, the rookie guide, which is almost 200 pages long. All we do is set you up with the tools you need to win in 2024. So this is going to be 30 seconds per pick, 12 rounds. 15 rounds, 12 teams, Superflex, similar to most of the best ball tournaments, charity tournaments that are out there. So we're going to get it underway, and I'll just pick your brains as we go. We'll see who's actually paying attention, as there's a few people in here, not online at the minute. So, Matt, where are you going with the first pick?
I Superflex. I'm quarterback, but I'm a Jets fan. I can't pick Josh Allen, so I'm going to go with Mahomes. I mean, they're two the same. They're very, very similar in obviously in ranking, whatever. So, James picked.
So, in terms of where would Josh Allen have to fall to for you to pick him? If you were at the 105 and Josh Allen fell to you, would you have taken him?
Oh yeah, 102.
So you're only a Jets fan for 4 picks then?
So the 106 comes to me, and I'm going to be taking Anthony Richardson. He is my QB5 this season, right behind Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes. I think the CJ Stroud hype is kind of justified to a point, but he didn't really show the ceiling last year. Didn't have a whole lot of top performances in terms of overall points scored in individual weeks. Anthony Richardson, yes, there's a boom bust element, but I'm more than happy to push my chips in on that. Rich,
can I ask a question before I get to my pick? Are we drafting this as if it's like a big JTT style charity tournament? Yeah.
Yeah, that's the idea. But we're in one of these charity contests, and we're looking to get the edge on whatever we can.
Cool, perfect. So yeah, so I'm thinking that for me, when I'm approaching these charity tournaments, I always go in with, I think, something like Scott Fishbowl. You've almost got, am I going to just make the playoffs, or am I going to try and win the tournament? And I think that for me, I'm always going in to try and win the tournament. And if I'm looking to try and win the tournament, I think I need to get a little bit different. And to me, the easiest way to get different in a Superflex league is to zig whenever else is zagging at the quarterback position. So I'm looking to try and get different, chase upside, and rely on maybe hitting on a couple of later round quarterbacks that I think can give me high upside. So I'm going for pure upside here, and I'm going to double tap wide receiver and go Hill and Chase.
Is that a tactic you've used over the last few years in Scott Fishbowl? And if so, how's it worked out for you?
Yeah, so I think the first couple of years, I was just happy, just looking to make the playoffs. But I think certainly over the last 2 years, I've sort of taken that approach of let's try and win the whole thing. Last year, it went really well for me. I think I got to the I can't remember if it was semi-final or quarter-final, like second or third final week. Had a fantastic run in Scott Fishbowl. Unfortunately, injuries curtailed my season and sort of fell apart. But I got really lucky last year because I waited on quarterback as long as possible and then nabbed Brock Purdy, Baker Mayfield, and obviously both of those having good seasons really buoyed my entire kind of draft. And I think that if you can get lucky at quarterback and load up at other positions, it's certainly a tactic I'm looking to implement in some of these drafts.
Yeah, so I've gone with Jahmyr Gibbs as my second round pick. I kind of feel like when it comes to Superflex draft, sometimes it's not necessarily about even taking the best player at the position. I think it's about making sure that your top quarterback, your top running back, and your top wide receiver, there isn't necessarily a massive disparity from them. Last year, I did really well in the FFPC Superflex contest, which is a massive large field tournament, and it finished 8th overall. And that was in part due to a team build like this, where I went out of the gate, I went quarterback, running back, wide receiver. So I do quite like those kind of balanced builds. Matt, you'll have 2 picks in just a second. Like, what's your kind of mindset with having the turn?
Well, I think at this position, I mean, I'd normally take any Superflex league. I'd normally take 2 quarterbacks first 2 rounds. I'm going to have to take one on this turn just because I don't like what probably is going to come back to me in round 4 and 5. I was actually listening to Rich, thinking I like this tack of maybe going quarterback first. After, thanks for saying that. After I'd taken Mahomes, but yeah. So no. Problem is, obviously, when you get to the point, there's
5,
no one
4.
And because you know I love a stack, I'm gonna stick Kelsey in there as well.
You have been a long-term proponent of the stacking. So Matt, where are you picking at in the Scott Fish Bowl?
9.
That's where I'm picking to. Yeah, I've picked at 9 every year, and I'm pretty sure I made the playoffs every year in Scott Fish Bowl. So why change things? Rich, where are you picking at in SFB?
I'm at 11 for the 4th year on a run. Yeah, it's similar to you. I've made the playoffs every year. It's done well for me. So why change it?
So Matt, how are you determining draft order for the JTT? Are you going to run a random or anything special that you're thinking of?
No, to be honest, I just randomise it once. It's the division. I haven't got time messing about with much fancy stuff. I do like some of these I've seen you tweet up the other day about something you do, which I thought was fantastic. But not that many divisions, no way.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a balance, and sometimes people just want to know and just get on with what they're going to do. I'd hoped that one of the wide receivers that I liked would have made it back to me here, but it feels like a slight tier break, so I'm going to go with Brock Purdy and solidify that kind of quarterback room instead. Rich, anything kind of standing out to you about how the rest of this room's playing out so far?
No, it feels like it's been fairly chalky. Maybe tight ends falling a little bit. Sam Laporte's still on the board as we're coming up to the back end of the 3rd. Only one tight end gone so far in Travis Kelce. That's probably, I guess, the biggest surprise. I know that a lot of these large charity tournaments, I mean, Scott Fish Bowl has extra tight end premium, both on receptions and first downs. So obviously, I think Travis Kelce went 101 in a lot of drafts last year. So yeah, if not adding that premium, I guess, allows the tight ends to fall.
Yeah. Go on, Rich. Tell us what you're kind of thinking with this turn after that bold strategy to start things off.
Yeah, well, I'm pretty happy with how things have shaken. Obviously, a fair few quarterbacks have gone, but not a massive amount. So I don't feel like I've kind of massively missed out. I think if there'd been a huge quarterback run, I'd have probably had to double tap it here. But I think given I was just saying tight ends fallen, Sam Laporte at the 312 feels like a great value. Now the question is, do I go Trevor Lawrence or Justin Herbert? And I'm going to stick with my guy and go Trevor Lawrence. I think he's got potentially some better stacking opportunities coming up. And I've been telling everyone that he's going to have a phenomenal year. So I've got to start buying into what I'm telling at some point.
So, Matt, you mentioned before that you're going to throw in a bit of a twist with the return points this year. Are there any particular players that you're excited to see how often they're drafted because of that?
It's hard, isn't it? Because there's always a gadget player here and there on different teams. You just know that someone Lewis Rees Zammit is going to go somewhere a lot, just because people like that he's going to end up as a gadget somehow in some kind of place. So, but outside of that, I don't know what it's going to look like, to be honest.
I guess it's Rashid Shaheed's the one last year that had the big boost. He's the only kind of, I guess, every down player that I can think of that had any relevancy in the return game last year on a consistent basis, certainly.
Yeah, I mean, I think Cordarrelle Patterson is obviously going to get drafted in at least a couple of leagues because of namesake value and stuff like that, but I'm not sure I can really believe in it. I think there'll definitely be some fun players out there. I would guess it'll be the teams who end up giving it to defensive players for their kick returns who will be spoiling the party. I did take Brandon Ayuk there.
I was going to say, are we just going to brush over the fact that you've just drafted Brandon Ayuk? Or?
So, I mean, Brandon Ayuk, for long-term listeners, will know that for me, Deebo Samuel is the wide receiver 1 in San Francisco. And in this draft, our guy RB Raven at the 10 spot took Deebo at the 4-3, left Brandon Ayuk falling to me at the 4-7. I mean, Ayuk is going almost on the 1-2 turn at the minute. And when it comes to these kind of tournaments in best ball, a little bit of week 17 correlation isn't a bad thing. And I do believe the Lions play the Niners, so I'm all right taking him up there. I do like Brandon Ayuk. Deebo is a more valuable fantasy player. Matt takes the 4-12 and goes in division with Jalen Waddle. So he didn't want to draft Josh Allen, but he bit the bullet and took a Dolphins player there before then taking a former Bills player. I mean, Matt, shopping what you know.
Well, it had to be 2 wide receivers there. I didn't know what was on the board, so just Diggs has just got such a question mark because of where he's gone, and obviously competition with the other guys, and also his attitude. So we'll see how that happens this year.
Yep. So, Matt, in terms of the JTT, I know you're pretty close to full. Can you tell people how many spaces are left, and if they aren't signed up and want to get in, what can they do to get in?
Yeah, of course. So we've got 19 spots left. Really, the next 19 people that sign up or donate or sign up and donate can win. So, but I will offer 600 a nice round for our conference. So anybody not signed up that would like to get involved, it's a fantastic charity. Just send us a DM at JTT Cup on Twitter, and then we'll kind of go from there.
And I would strongly urge you to do so. It's a fantastic cause, something which you've done a great job with. It's a very fun contest. You do a lot of good work, you and the JTT admin team, in terms of making it fun for people week to week, keeping people aware of what's going on across the other divisions. So it is well worth signing up. Check them out, JTT Cup on Twitter, and get signed up before those last few places go. We've got our first time out, and Josh Jacobs goes. I was kind of looking at my best ball rankings where I've been very aggressive on Josh Jacobs this year the other day and thinking maybe I need to drop him down because nobody else is high on him. I had him right around the 1-2 turn. And then I heard Evan Silva have him at 13th place overall. So still a little undecided what to do there. Rich, are you taking a running back or just happy that some more starter caliber quarterbacks have made it back to you?
I think I talked about having to take risks, look at risking at quarterback, get comfortable, get uncomfortable. So I'm going to go wide receiver with Cooper Kupp, who feels like a great value there. And then Keenan Allen, again, feels like it's ridiculous that I'm able to get Keenan Allen in potentially the 6th round. So yeah, I'm taking a big risk. This could look with egg on my face if I'm potentially starting Will Levis in a few guys' time, but let's embrace the risk, shoot for the complete ceiling, and load up on some potentially high value assets.
Well, Will Levis went one pick before you at the 5'11",
Well,
so you won't be starting Will Levis. We can definitely say that. So I'm a couple of picks away. For me, yeah, I'm quite happy with how the board's playing out. I think you've got some dead zone type running backs around here, and Rashad White, Isaiah Pacheco. They're not guys I want huge exposure to, and I don't tend to draft more than one of those in a team. But they're both players who could outdo that kind of area of the draft. In terms of wide receiver, Amari Cooper, Zay Flowers, George Pickens, Tank Dell, Christian Kirk. There's plenty of guys I like in this range. I think we're a couple of rounds away from where things get a little bit miserable, but I feel quite happy right now. So I'm going to go. I'll take the guy whose shirt's right behind me, Zay Flowers. As a wide receiver 3, that feels completely fine. Matt, you're a Jets fan. How are you feeling about the Jets' chances this season? Do you believe Aaron Rodgers can come back and be good at this point in his career?
Well, we're in the optimism cycle as Jets fans at the moment, aren't we, Rick? I think I'm fair with work in the draft and free agency. So, but yeah, we're one injury away from being irrelevant again. So we'll see. I mean, Rodgers is obviously getting on. There's a question mark on his injury, but he's a talented bloke. So we'll see. I'm optimistic, but that's just the cycle that we're in every year. So
it's the hope. It's the hope that kills you every year as Jets fan. As soon as you begin to hope, that's when it all comes crashing down.
So, Matt, are you going to take your first running back here, or have I converted you into a zero RB zealot?
Yeah, nah. There we go. I'm going to leave it for another turn, I think.
Spicy. Love that. So far, Matt's got Mahomes, Dak Prescott, Travis Kelce, Jalen Waddle, Stephon Diggs, Christian Kirk, and Roma Dunze. That is a lot of wide receiver firepower, a lot of high-end power altogether. And the kind of theory that I go for in best ball, it's all about winning that flex, which is something Rotoviz have written about for years. You want to have the strongest possible flex position. And when I look at both of your rosters, guys, between Rich's, Tyreek Hill, Jamar Chase, Cooper Kupp, Keenan Allen, and then Matt's, those rosters feel very strong at the flex, and it's leaving me feeling like I need to hit on my next pick. But wide receiver is definitely drying up. We're into the territory where it all gets a bit miserable. But one player who absolutely should not be going where he is in sleeper ADP, and sleeper ADP is inefficient compared to best ball sites, is Xavier Worthy, who is now a 5th-round fixture on Underdog on DraftKings. And sooner or later on sleeper, he'll start to climb. But there's real value in these charity tournaments when you get into these drafts. Take a copy of the ADP. If you're in our Discord, we've got the sleeper ADP in the best ball survival guide. There'll be more data coming to just push that against my rankings, push it against ADP of other sites so that we can show you where the inefficiencies are on sleeper. Because if you scroll down, you are going to find some absolute bargains compared to some of these sites. And get in, do some mocks. It's strongly believe that whilst I don't like mock drafting for my redraft leagues, charity contests, they're a bit different. The scoring's always a bit quirky and interesting, and they can be good fun. Rich, couple of picks away with Tyreek Hill, Jamar Chase, Sam Laporta, Trevor Lawrence, Cooper Kupp, and Keenan Allen. What are you hoping falls for you here?
So there's one player that I was torn between Keenan Allen and taking this player last pick. He's still sat on the board. I kind of don't want to tempt fate and say who it is, but I can tell you now. So talk to me, Tom. Geno Smith. I get being slightly low on him and concerned on him for Dynasty, given the uncertainty beyond this year with the contract situation. But he's shown a propensity to push the ball down the field. He's shown that he can, be a good fantasy option. We've still got Tyler Lockett. We've still got DK Metcalf. JSN is in his 2nd year. They've retooled that offensive line. Everyone should be healthy. Why is Geno Smith falling so far consistently in fantasy and redraft and best ball at the moment?
So there's definitely a mindset that Mike McDonald is going to want to run the ball. He comes to the Seahawks from the Ravens, where they were a defense and run the ball type team. But that's not what they've got in their offensive coordinator who just left Washington and took them to a national championship in the college game. that was a fantasy-friendly offense, and they made Michael Penix look good, didn't they? So I truly believe Geno is being very undervalued at the minute. Yes, he kind of regressed last year. He doesn't typically put up ceiling performances. Like, I rarely wanted to play him on DraftKings because he struggles to compete with the players above him. But in a format like this, where when you've got 4 top wide receivers, a really good tight end, having him as your second quarterback, if this was best ball, or even your QB3, I think there's huge value in it. I'd take him over Deshaun Watson. I'd be happy to take him over Aaron Rodgers, Will Levis, definitely over Derek Carr, who you took after him. So yeah, it's a little perplexing to me, and the Seahawks in general are just cheaper this year, so they're easier to stack. I mean, Jackson Smith and Jigba is barely inside the top 100 picks on DraftKings. I think he's around pick 85 on Underdog, and somebody I'll keep drafting at value because I'm not prepared to believe that he's just not a good player all of a sudden. Matt, back to you at the one their turn. Nick Chubb and
I was at Stevens, so I'm really glad my mate Tarek took him too earlier. Thanks for that, Tarek. Where are we going to go here? Yeah, I don't like the running backs on the boards. I might just end up with just Chubb on the entire roster at this rate.
I mean, this is the right kind of stream if you want a completely fade running back. We are completely fine with that. As it happens, going to be doing even more best ball streams now. I've got a very quiet couple of months coming up, so going to be doing some crossover streams with Colin Kelly of RotoViz Overtime. We'll be doing DraftKings streams every Tuesday, and I would be very surprised if a large number of them aren't zero RB drafts, because we've got to stick to the bit. I'm back up on the clock, and in terms of who's available, it's nobody who I really love. Very much feel the same as Matt did, but I'm going to take JJ McCarthy and just get the third quarterback position sealed up. This is kind of the area of the draft where I'd like to be done with quarterback and feel pretty happy about that. Rich, anything in this draft so far that you're seeing? Any teams that you're particularly liking?
I'll be honest, I haven't had a chance to look at anyone else's team. I'm worried about my own, but no. I'm a bit surprised hearing you guys say you don't like this point. Maybe it's just the sick kind of running back hopeful drafter that I am, but I really like this range for running backs. I think the guys of like James Conner, Zamir White, Tony Pollard, Zach Moss, Jalen Warren, they all feel like RB2s with potential even more upside. And to be getting him, what are we now in the 9th round? That feels like kind of low risk, high reward picks. As a self-admitted, generally zero RB build, and I'm certainly doing that right now. Those are definitely kind of guys that I'm really enjoying taking in this sort of range.
Yeah, I just want to mention we've got David in the chat, one of our YouTube members and an all-around good guy, saying taking Geno over Rodgers. I mean, yeah, I just think Rodgers plays slow. Rodgers plays safe at times. This isn't me trying to get on the two Jets fans live on the stream, but I think that is a team that, because their defense is so good as well, they can put the ball in Breece Hall's hands, and I don't expect them to be pass happy or anything like that. The Seahawks defense still, it's going to be better this year, and I think that Mike McDonald will do an excellent job with them. But look at the way that Geno finished last year. From week 10 onwards, he had 24-point performance, 23-point performance, 30-point performance. So there's definitely reasons for me to think that Geno can get it together in this new offense. And there was definitely some whispers that the team weren't overly impressed by Shane Waldron's offense last year. So, Rich, you double tapped James Conner and Zamir White. Zamir White was the player I kind of came very close to pressing on my last one. I think if I'd not taken Kenneth Walker, then it would have been an easy pick for me. I think I'm going to have to stop the George Kittle slide if he makes it back to me one more pick.
I looked at it. It was only because I went Sam Report earlier. I was like, I can't invest this much in tight end when I've not got any running backs. But the hate is real.
It really is. And I mean, last year I tried to have as little as possible of him, but going at what? Tight end 10? When I've already got the Niners stack of Brock Purdy and Brandon Ayuk. I mean, just all in on the Niners, I guess. But George Kittle, he's always going to be a frustrating player. There's going to be those weeks where you don't get anything out of him. But in best ball, you can build around that. Like maybe in certain tournaments where it's managed, like Warrior Bowl, I'd want to shoot a little bit higher. But in best ball, I'm completely comfortable having George Kittle as my tight end 1. It will probably, if we were doing a full 20 rounds, it'd push me to take 3 tight ends. But here I feel quite comfortable with it. Matt, you back up in 1 pick. You've got Patrick Mahomes, Dak Prescott, Travis Kelce, Jalen Waddle, Stephon Diggs, Christian Kirk, Roma Dunze, Nick Chubb, and Lad McConkey. What are you thinking?
Tarek took the guy I was going to take again. I hate that guy. I was actually thinking about Pollard the last turn, so the fact that he made it back, but I'm going to end up with no money backs at all. So there we go. Let's hope for an injury season for our man who's joined us this year. And
what about Devin Singletary?
Yeah, right. You talked me into it.
Well, there you go. You've got yourself one of your Jets players in Mike Williams, Devin Singletary. How do you feel about the Jets wide receiver group this year?
We've obviously strengthened it, and I think a huge fan of Wilson, and it all depends on Rodgers' fitness. If he can spray the ball around, he can still do it, and we're going to be great. But Mike Williams, we've had a lot of veterans that have got a bit of injury history, so we'll see.
So,
Rich.
Go on, Rich.
Sorry, I missed the question.
How do you feel about the Jets wide receiver group this year?
I think a lot depends on how healthy Mike Williams is going to be. I think, look, we know Garrett Wilson is a stud. I like Malachi Corley a lot more than most, but I think a lot of it that they need a big-bodied outside receiver, and I think maybe Alan Lazard could be that with a healthy Rodgers, but I'm not that confident. So I think they need Mike Williams to be healthy for it all to fit in. If not, I worry that they're going to be asking and putting Malachi Corley in situations where he's not going to succeed, and defenses can shade too much coverage over to Garrett Wilson. So, yeah, I think if Mike Williams can stay healthy, which I feel like I've been saying for the last 4 seasons, I'm very excited. If he struggles with injuries, then yeah, I'm a little bit nervous.
So we see Chigokonkwo go off a pick before you. I know he's not a player that you're particularly fussed about, Rich, but are you looking at another tight end around here, or happy that Sam Laporta can just carry you and you could leave that position completely?
I think I'm probably going to leave it, maybe take a dart throw a bit later in the draft. Probably need to build out my running back room a little bit, but felt like I got sniped on Tajay Spears there. So I'm going to go and get the Gus Bus. Let's jump on board and ride his fantasy success.
So, as the dynasty man, everybody seems to be, announcing Kamani Vidal as a great pick simply because, Gus is old, 29 years old, coming off the worst year of his career in terms of efficiency. J.K. Dobbins isn't old, but is coming off another season-ending injury. Do you think that really is a world where Kamani Vidal could be, an RB2, RB3 consistently through this year?
I think there's a world where 150 running backs could be an RB2, RB3 consistently for fantasy. Let's be honest. I think basically any back on an NFL roster, if everybody got injured above them, could potentially walk into that path. That's kind of the position in the league. But do I think it's a realistic outcome? No. I think that people have massively buoyed Kamani Vidal, who's a player I liked, I just didn't love. And I think that the NFL's shown that they didn't love him, or he would have gone earlier than the 6th round. And I think that buoying him, certainly in redraft, but particularly in dynasty, to say that he's the heir apparent is madness to me. I think, look, Gus Edwards is solid, safe, reliable, short yardage back. We know exactly what he's going to be. And J.K. Dobbins, when he's been on the field, has been an absolute superstar. The problem's been is that those opportunities have been few and far between. So I still think that the Chargers will potentially add another back to this backfield. And I wouldn't be shocked if Kamani Vidal isn't even active potentially on Sundays to start the season.
So, Jahan Dotson, I took with my 12th round pick there. I can't help but feel that Jahan Dotson burned people last year, but is being massively undervalued this year simply because he burnt people. But you look at what they had in Sam Howell. No offense, David. I know you're an apologist for him, but he was not somebody who was good at throwing outside the numbers. He wasn't very good at throwing downfield. Jaden Daniels is that. And I have my concerns about what Jaden Daniels can do long term, but in terms of what Jahan Dotson could do this year, I think he'd definitely be a good bounce back. And in the 12th round, I'll take that every day of the week. Matt takes a no risk it, no biscuit pick with TJ Hawkinson in the 12th round, waiting on his second pick. Matt, I'll let you make your next pick and then tell us how much are you willing to embrace risk when it comes to these kind of tournaments?
I think you have to take the risk into later round. And, if we talk about JTT specifically, the people that have won it are people that have found that value and gone for that high risk, high reward strategy in kind of the mid to later rounds, kind of round 20 onwards. So, Rich said earlier, there is an element of luck. Of course, there is on best ball. So, yeah, I think the answer is I probably need to do more. I generally don't do that in these tournaments, but I've seen it for other people.
So when it comes to charity tournaments, Matt, how much do you bake in, try to win it all with just trying to enjoy it? Like, what's your kind of typical mindset approach to them?
I think for me, I don't take it too seriously. I mean, a lot of them, I like to do the Scott Fish Bowl because it's obviously the most prestigious one, and obviously with a pre-draft, there's a bit more element of skill. I think that with the best ones, it's just have time with the people drafting with. Don't take it too seriously, and hope that you pick a winning roster. Although I wouldn't want to win the JTT. That's the only one I wouldn't want to win because that would just look dodgy.
So, I mean, that's definitely the crux of it for me. It's about having fun. It's getting in the group chats, whether, if you're in the Scott Fish Bowl and getting in the group chats in our Discord, we have a channel for the charity league contests, and they're always busy and always fun. But the JTT Cup this year, you guys kind of hit on engagement gold by naming all the divisions after musicians, and the way that it kind of caught fire, and then everybody was naming their teams related to songs. How much is that kind of like already making you think about what you want to do for the names next year?
Oh, it absolutely is. And as I've told on a couple of other shows, I music thing easy to get 50 to 60 names and have them as a division, and then I set them up 5 weeks ago, and everybody just started getting on board with these puns. Some of them are absolutely incredible, and it's already made me think, what do we do next year that gets the same kind of level of fun and engagement with it when we set it up? So,
what was the winner overall in terms of the best team name? I know you put them out as polls. Remind me which team name won it all.
The winner was from the Whitney Houston Division 1 with Lombard with Matt Hone. There was it was up there. It wasn't my personal favourite. My personal two favourites were Losing My Division from the REM
incredible
division, and from the Tom Jones division, YYY lineman, which I probably went out in the same.
Shout out to one of our members. I thoroughly enjoyed Pat's Brock Your Body from the Batshute Boys division. That was a personal favourite of mine.
I mean, I think I would have done better if I hadn't been placed in the Radiohead division, which is not my favourite band, let's say.
Apologies that unfortunately your first name got you in the Radiohead division, as you know. But I know you're not.
legally going to change my name next year to avoid that ever happening again. But yeah, so we are kind of plodding through the 14th in this 15-round mock. I have Anthony Richardson, Jahmyr Gibbs, Brock Purdy, Brandon Ayuk, Devonta Smith, Zay Flowers, Xavier Worthy, Kenneth Walker, JJ McCarthy, George Kittle, Brian Robinson, Jahan Dotson, Zeke Elliott, and Roman Wilson. Just feels like a pretty nice team to me. There's nothing that kind of makes me feel massively strongly, apart from the fact that I've got that Niners stack of George Kittle in the 10th round, Brandon Ayuk in the 4th, and Brock Purdy in the 3rd. Matt, your last picks, Khalil Herbert and then Ricky Pearsall. How do you feel about your team? I'll just recap it for you quickly. Pat Mahomes, Dak Prescott, Travis Kelce, Jalen Waddle, Stephon Diggs, Christian Kirk, Roma Dunze, Nick Chubb, Lad McConkey, Mike Williams, Devin Singletary, TJ Hawkinson, Khalil Shakir, Khalil Herbert, and Ricky Pearsall.
Yeah, I think I'm pretty happy. I've got, a little bit of upside. I've got a little bit of risk in there. I wish it was slightly different than running backs. There you go. At least it's still.
And I was about to scroll down and try and find my favorite tight end for the late rounds, only to see Rich drafted him a round and a half earlier in Taysom Hill. So that's fine. We'll just move on and take Ty Chandler, who I think is still going to have a very real role in this one. Rich, your team. Your team, Tyreek Hill, Jamar Chase, Sam Laporta, Trevor Lawrence, Cooper Kupp, Keenan Allen, Geno Smith, Derek Carr, James Conner, Zamir White, Gabe Davis, Gus Edwards, Zach Charbonnet, and Taysom Hill. How you feeling about it, and what do you feel like you need to round out this draft?
Yeah, feeling reasonably good with it. I always feel like at that point where I'm kind of chasing running back volume, having gone 0 running back, I almost struggle to pass up wide receiver, but feel like I have to, and it never feels particularly nice. So yeah, probably a little bit lighter at wide receiver than I would like in those sort of later rounds. I'm going to go pure upside with my last pick though. Chase that ceiling in Cincinnati.
Love it. Jermaine Burton added to the roster, and that's definitely a pick that is popular in the best ball drafts at the minute and picking up some steam. And if T. Higgins was to go, it would be very popular. In terms of the other drafts, I mean, you can tell we're drafting with smart people, all folks from our Discord. There's no 4 QB builds that are sort of like in the first couple of rounds. There's no teams where I look at them and go, that pick is crazy. We're blessed to have great people in our Discord. And if you want to join, hit the join button down below. So, Matt, before we get out of here, I want to go back over the JTT. Just remind people that where they can find you if they want to sign up, what it is that you can bring them, and people should definitely be checking it out.
Yeah, so if anyone wants to get involved, please, find us on Twitter at JTT Cup. Send a direct message. The point, as I said there, to closing donations off. So send a message first before donations, so you can check the space. I'd like to think it's a really fun league. It's grown every year. It's raised a lot of money for a fantastic cause. It's a good bit of fun. The winner gets a trophy from courtesy of Star Sports and gets a place in Scott Fish Bowl 15 next year. So plenty of small reasons there to be involved.
Lovely stuff. We've got loads coming this week on the Fantasy Sanctuary. There's Dynasty content from Rich. I'll be in the Underdog Streets tomorrow night with Tyler. Then on Wednesday, I will be solo drafting on DraftKings. The week after, we've got Pat Crane here for a DraftKings Best Ball contest. Lots of other stuff coming your way. Truly appreciate everybody hanging out with us tonight. Go and sign up on Twitter. Get Matt's DMs and tell him you want to be in the JTT Cup. Charity season. Time to smash those drafts. We'll be back soon.